back to the MN Talk Show, everybody, episode 7. And today we got a special guest, and it's Jake Parenteau. Everybody, welcome Jake Parenteau. Yeah. So, how are we doing today? I know it's a fine Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. How are we doing?
Doing well.
Yeah?
Doing
Week's
well.
going good so far?
Yeah, really good.
Sweet.
It's my son's birthday today, so
happy birthday.
Shout out Arlo. Happy birthday.
How old is How old is Arlo?
He's 2.
2? Sweet,
yes,
sweet. That's awesome. And how is it being a dad? You're kind of like just getting started.
Oh, man. It is every emotion manageable.
Yeah.
It's the most rewarding thing. It puts every priority right out in front of you, and it's sad, happy, mad, everything you can think of. But
right.
it's been a really fun journey so far.
Were you nervous right away when you found out, or were you excited?
I was nervous when he was born. I think since I only got to do the fun part, my wife had to carry him and then give birth to him. And then once we had him, I was like, oh, shit, here we go.
You're like, oh, boy.
I got to take care of a little bean now.
Right.
Wow.
And it was this, I've never held an infant before. So, I mean, I have, but never taken care of one. I should
held it for 30 seconds,
yeah,
for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And
right.
Yeah.
So it was just a huge learning curve. And I'm all about that. So it's been a really fun journey.
Right. Would you say so I hear a lot of the things with dads is they don't understand they're going to be a dad until it actually happens. Mm-hmm. Would you say you felt that way as it's kind of leading up to it? Maybe it builds up a little bit, but then until it actually comes out, it's...
You have an idea of what it's going to be like, but until you actually see, we didn't know if we were having a girl or a boy until he was born. So the instant I saw him, you just have a feeling of love that comes over you that is like nothing you've ever felt before. It was almost dropped me to my knees.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Were you hoping for a boy?
I mean, secretly, I'm healthy baby. But
yeah.
I mean, once you see it's a boy, I thought we were having a girl. I'd like to think I wasn't sure, but when I saw the boy, I was like, damn, I thought I was having a girl.
Yeah.
That's
and I feel did you feel guilty thinking that it was going to be a girl or a boy?
No, I mean, as growing up, you always want to have a boy because of the sports and all that stuff, and just being a boy yourself. I don't know. I was different. That whole process when having a partner and going through the steps of all right, should we start trying? Then we start trying. Then it's the next phase of pregnancy, and then you go through all that, and then you actually have the kid, and it's just it's a really cool journey.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, former Gophers hockey player.
Yep.
Pro hockey player.
Yep.
Where did it all begin?
It began with the Parenteau family, and I guess my mom's family as well. So my dad played for the U of M, my uncle played for the U of M, and my other uncle played for the U of M. So it was bred into me, I guess. So it was always a point of interest. I always enjoyed it. We always played it. My sister played at the University of Bemidji State. And it was in her blood, I would say.
Were you and your sister kind of similar age?
Yeah, she was 87, I'm 89, and we played all the way up until Bantams, where she played high school.
Okay.
So we were very competitive against each other. So we battled hard.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's sweet. So, did you win, or did you let her win?
Mm-hmm. I did not let her win, but she won.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like all the Parentos compete fairly at a high level, at a fairly high level, right? So I feel like for Jake to let her win would be almost it doesn't exist, right?
It's not in me. Not with my sister. I think from a different standpoint of my buddies growing up, I was such a empath and felt the feelings of others that I sometimes let them win so they wouldn't get as mad.
Right.
I quickly got over that, though.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that competitiveness still there with her?
With my sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you
you guys compete
Yeah,
now
I was
about?
just going to say.
We don't really compete in those terms anymore. I think it's more of out of love.
Yeah.
No.
Lovely competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like a little...
So it doesn't matter what game it is.
Yeah.
We like playing it. We like being competitive in that spirit, but we know that it's not out of hatred.
Right.
Rather
just
than
for
more
fun.
of love.
Fun
Yeah,
competition.
exactly.
Yeah, I love those.
That's sweet. So you mentioned that essentially your whole family played hockey at the U of M. Mm-hmm. So when you were growing up, was that kind of the only place you wanted to go? Did you have options? What did that kind of look like for you?
So growing up, I guess I can kind of just go through my career here.
Please, yeah.
So Chisago Lakes, 4 years. Well, I guess even before that. So my dad was my coach all the way up until Bantams. Fast forward to Bantams to high school. I played 4 years of high school at Chisago Lakes. Came in as a freshman, played all 4 years, and then I just didn't know anything different, and I wanted to keep playing hockey. And being such a small town in the middle of nowhere, not the middle of nowhere, but
close to.
Yeah. We didn't know what junior hockey was.
Right.
And it wasn't until this guy named Paul Gibson moved into town. He's like, you guys, there is junior hockey. You guys can play after high school. We're like, what?
It's news to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, right.
So he got us hooked up with my first junior team called the St. Paul Lakers, and they were in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League. And it was a pay-to-play league. And it was me and my buddy Aaron Slagle on the team. Another buddy, Scott Leach, played for the Hudson Crusaders in the same junior hockey league. And then a year after that, it was in the NA for Alaska Avalanche. So I was trying out for North Iowa. The head coach from North Iowa got the call to be the head coach for the Alaska Avalanche up in Alaska, and he tendered me on the spot there.
That's sweet.
And then I was like, hell yeah, let's go to
What was it like playing up there?
I loved it. I'm a huge outdoorsman. I grew up in the sticks, and just a really good group of guys up there, really good coaches, really good trainers. This is a really good experience.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
And then, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So, first year juniors, second year juniors still didn't get contact even from a D3.
All in Alaska still, correct?
So, second year juniors in Alaska. In between my second and third year, I lived with a guy named Tyler Schwartz, and he really got me. We trained really hard, and I never really understood what training was outside of just on the rink. It just wasn't in our system growing up. So he brought me through a full summer of training with him, and it just elevated my game to a different level. Confidence, both mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and I just lit it up in that first showcase tournament at the Super Rink, and it was kind of from there. It was my first team that ever contacted me was Union State, and fast forward, we lose to them in the championship game in the Frozen Four our senior year, and it was the Gophers were looking at me then, but they wanted to wait until halfway through the season to see how I would progress and
see the consistency, the roller coaster type player you are.
So like talking about like progression and whatnot, did you dominate high school hockey?
No.
Because I feel like that's like a stereotype of like D1 athletes of like they dominate in high school.
Mm-mm.
So obviously you didn't. So when you went to juniors, did you see your growth there?
Yeah, I was a late bloomer for sure. So my first year of juniors, obviously getting away from the nest and kind of finding my own and figuring out who I was as a person, I was able to play more freely. I had more freedom to do me.
Right.
So I led the league, I believe, my first year in juniors in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League for defensive points. Did the same thing my second and third year with Alaska, and it just, my confidence was booming. I was playing really well, and fast forward to the 4 years at the U, I unfortunately had zero confidence when I was there. I didn't know what the reason was. I know now after peeling back my own onion and finding out the layers and kind of figuring out what that was. I played 1 year of professional hockey. I started with the Iowa Wild. Mm-hmm. I got sent down to the Orlando Solar Bears in the ECHL, and unfortunately suffered a career-ending injury with my shoulder. And then I was done.
So you said your confidence at the college level like lowered, like it dropped quite a bit, right?
Yep.
Why was that? Now that you said what it is now.
Absolutely. So I think there's multiple things. So I think from a young child you internalize things and learn things a certain way that dictate how you are going to interact with the world the further you get into the world. And for me, I had a lot of limiting beliefs. One of my limited beliefs was I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't have self-worth. My identity was wrapped up into hockey, so I thought the way I played was the love that I was going to get on the outside of it. So I didn't know who I was outside of hockey until I went down the road of, fast forward 3 years post-hockey career, and I was depressed without even realizing what depression was. Mm-hmm. So me and my wife, girlfriend at the time, we got a house in New Brighton, and we got a dog the next day, and our dog is a very high-strung pup. And I started running with her every day. And that consistency kept up with the physical part of it. And then physically I started feeling better. And I was like, oh, shit, I feel pretty good right now. And then COVID hit. It was, I don't know, what was that, 2020?
Yeah, whatever it was. Right around there.
And I went down the spiritual world of peeling back my own onion in layers of figuring out who I was, what made me tick, what's my life's meaningful mission outside of hockey, what do I really enjoy. And within that journey, I figured out that my self-worth was wrapped up into hockey, and at the U, I didn't play. So then I felt really bad about myself, thinking I wasn't good enough to play with. I came from Chisago Lakes, which is a really small town. I play in Stillwater. I lived in Stillwater, was in Rosemont, and then 2 years up in Alaska. Not a big city at all in any of those parts. Then I come to the U. Obviously, you're going to get those guys that were all-stars in high school. Mm-hmm. You're going to get those guys that are ego-driven, really high up here, and I'm just, I'm a crowd follower. I'm just
Sago Lakes High School.
Dude, I'm just trying to blend in. Yeah. I'm just trying to blend in to fit and be a part of the crew. And
was that probably the biggest challenge?
Huge. I didn't realize that, huge city, huge campus, huge, big names, and didn't know anything other than who I was, really. I didn't pay attention to the outside world of hockey other than what I was playing because I just enjoyed the sport.
Were you and your wife dating at that time?
We met in geology class at the U my sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah. So She was a track girl. She was a sprinter. She ran the 200, 400, and the 400 relay.
Does she still run with you now?
No.
She probably had her fair share.
Yeah, she had her fair share of running, for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing to think about. And like you said, a lot of the athletes nowadays, they don't really think about their mentality in sports, which is like you said, because they're just focused on playing hockey or playing whatever sport they play. When did you find out that you have to be mentally strong to do things other than just play sports and involve that into your life now?
The day my son was born.
Yeah.
Really truly hit and sunk in when he was born. Now that I was in a stage where I physically felt really good about myself, so my confidence was really high. But I had all the time in the world to do the things that I needed to do to keep myself regulated.
Right.
When he was born, my time wasn't my time anymore. So then when my son was born, he came 6 weeks early. My wife had an emergency C-section, so it was a very traumatizing birth experience. I had to call my parents, her parents, explain what was going on, saying, hey, Leah's going into surgery. We don't know if she's going to come out of surgery. So get off the phone with them. It sunk into me oh shit, I might have to raise a kid by myself. And then it was okay, go back into there. We come back out, and it was everything's perfectly fine. Son is perfectly healthy. My wife is perfectly healthy, and it was all the priorities that came out. And then the first 6 months, I took on the role of just taking care of them as best I could. That same limited belief came into play as a new father because I didn't know how to take care of an infant. And my wife was still dealing with her traumatic experience of having an emergency C-section. She's a first-time mama, and we just weren't hitting on a partnership level that helped my confidence come to the forefront of asking questions and being in that growth mindset. I just took in best I could to take care of them, and I just broke. 6 months in, I had a massive panic attack, and it was because I stopped taking care of myself. I think wholeheartedly, you need to be really selfish with yourself and take care of yourself to the best abilities of you can, so you can show up to the best abilities in any situation you are throughout the day, for your wife, for your kids, for you guys, whatever it is. And it's been a 2-year-long journey of rebuilding back what I built up in a physical standpoint, in a chemical standpoint, which is your gut, like your second brain, and the emotional standpoint. The emotional standpoint is your everyday stressors, whether that's job, whether that's school, whatever that is. And finding out ways and systems that help me stay regulated into those situations. And now, insto facto, that's what I'm teaching our athletes now. So.
Yeah. So you're at the base, obviously, now. So what did you kind of do before that? Obviously, besides like play hockey, like there was a little bit of a gap where you.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, just
so
space.
After my hockey career, I needed a job, and the school for me, I never learned how to learn. It's called meta learning, and I learned how to cheat really well. That's just how I got by with school. I at a young age in elementary school, I was so scared to ask questions because I didn't know what was going on that I just buried it and just got by the best way I could.
You didn't want to be wrong.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And from that, I just learned how to get by from cheating, from the stuff that I didn't know. Some stuff came naturally. It is what it is. And so I never thought about hockey outside of hockey when I was in hockey. So I never thought about what I wanted to do when I was done with hockey. So fast forward until my career was done, I fell into the beverage industry. So I worked for a company called Extreme Beverage. They were a third-party distributor for Red Bull.
Okay.
I was there for probably 8 months, and Red Bull North America came in and cleaned house from Extreme Beverage. I didn't really like how they did that. They fired a bunch of hardworking people. I got a job with Cintas. They are a facility rental, like
I think I've heard of
uniform rental and
carpets and whatnot,
and poo paper and all that stuff.
Yeah, Vinny Billing works for.
Yep. Yeah. So I was an outside sales rep for them for a year and change. And at the time, one of my best friends was working for Monster Energy, and he's like, "Hey, you want to work with me? I got a job." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a blast."
Right.
So I started with Monster Energy as a field sales rep. So I was in a big Monster van. Coca-Cola distributes Monster, so I helped the selling process of our territory, which was the Twin Cities.
Right.
I was in that role for probably 8 months, and then I got a new job within them, was a regional sales rep for off-premise. So there's large store, small store, which is your Targets, your gas stations, and then on-premise is like arenas, schools, airports,
Gotcha.
all the different type of stuff like that. And then I got another job with a company called GVB Biopharma. They're a hemp wholesaler, so CBD.
Yep.
And then Dave Brown called me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, I need you." And I was like, "Done, let's go."
Yeah, that's it. That was the end goal.
Through that whole process, I was with Monster for 5+ years. And at the time when I started with Monster, I really enjoyed it. I loved the culture. It was really good to me. And I found out, through my own learnings that Monster isn't the healthiest drink, and it just didn't fit who I was as a person. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew it was within the space I am now with the base.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how it was going to come. And I was trying to force it. And I just found out I needed to be patient, surrender to the process. And when I went fully into that, Dave called me, and then it was green light after that.
Yeah.
Going way back to your senior year of college, you talked about not having confidence playing at college, but you ended up playing in the AHL. Mm-hmm. Was that a huge confidence boost for you, or was it just kind of like another year of hockey?
No, it was a big confidence booster. I felt like I was able to play free again. Mm-hmm. I think from a standpoint of the coaching staff that was at the U, they didn't have trust in me, so I didn't feel that trust connection that I needed. It kind of goes back to with my father and how he coached me and just how I viewed him within the hockey career that I had. And then once I got to the AHL, I made the team out of a tryout, and I thought I was playing really well. It just with pros, it's just you're a number, unfortunately, and they're going to have a lot more invested into their high draft picks than just a 24, 25-year-old free agent.
Right.
And we weren't playing the best, so I got sent down to the ECHL, the Orlando Solar Bears, and had a couple of my old U of M teammates down there, and we were just having an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like a lot of it is like fun too. Like you had to have enjoyed like playing hockey and stuff, but like besides hockey, like what was the fun parts about playing in the AHL or ECHL?
Yeah, I think you know, as a hockey player, your dream is to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
My goal was to have a long, sustaining career in the NHL, and the next layer of after college was playing pro hockey. I mean, AHL is one step below the NHL, and I felt good playing in there, but in the back of my mind, I still felt like I didn't belong because I was a kid from Chisago Lakes, free agent, 21-year-old freshman at the U. I just didn't have that extra gear that I knew I had to keep going into finding my dream.
When you got hurt, was it a hit?
It was actually during a fight, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah. So I had a couple times where my shoulder popped out in my career in the early years. Never happened at the U, but it happened in juniors. So I grabbed the guy, and he was a little bit bigger than I was, and he hit down on my shoulder really hard right here, and my shoulder just blew up.
Did you know it right away?
Oh yeah, it is.
You're like, this is it.
I mean, it fully dislocated the ball out of the socket, and that's how it happened before. And I went back into the training room. The doc would put it back in, and it was so bad that it would just slide back out.
Oh my!
So he sent me home with it partially in, partially out, kind of taped up, and it was the most excruciating pain. Like at my senior year at the U, I broke my leg. I got a plate and 9 screws in my right leg, and not even close to the pain that you feel with your shoulder.
Really?
So it was probably 3 a.m. This is the time I was living with Garrett Sparks, Brady Vale, and we'd play Slapshot Regatta every night. So it was a game that we won, so there was a bunch of boys over in our apartment playing out there, and I was like, God, these guys are having fun out there. I'm in here just trying not to just die.
Yeah.
I get up and I throw my shoulder like this, and it pops back in. I was like, this is amazing. It feels unbelievable. I walk out, everyone like stops and like looking at me because they knew I was in pain. I was like, we're good, guys. We're good. It's in. We're good.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? Like, personally, I couldn't just like wake up and be like, let's do it. And you just like
I wasn't
throw
sleeping.
it in. Oh, I guess. Either way.
I had to do something.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't going to go in, I had to try something.
So when did you know that like your career was done?
Yeah, so I was training. I mean, it's a 6-month recovery for that type of surgery. So I believe it's called an open Bankart surgery. So I went back home. I got surgery from one of the U doctors, Doc Nelson. I was going through the recovery phase, training at the U. I was living we were really good buddies with the wrestlers at the U, so I was living with them at the time because they were still on campus. And we were out in the backyard grilling. I was sitting on the swing set talking to my agent, and I was just like, I think I'm going to hang him up. And it was a place that I just wanted to shed tears and just be with someone to hold me, basically. And I just had the swing set to hold on to, and I felt like I needed to hide those tears because I was with a bunch of rough and tough dudes that, I don't know, I felt like they wouldn't understand what I was going through at the time, but I mean, everyone's human and can understand that, and it's just a matter of being able to communicate it out.
Did you talk to your dad first, or did you talk to your dad after?
No, after.
After?
Yeah.
So it was kind of your decision.
Yeah, I think so. I think, my wife was just starting her professional career. She's a first grade teacher. She was second grade at the time, and she didn't have any desire to follow me wherever I was going. And it was just, I felt like I needed to be done. I think, I broke my leg my senior year, and it was almost a year to that date where I blew up my shoulder. And before that, I never had any serious injuries. And within a year, I had 2 major surgeries. So it's like, all right, I better hang him up here.
This is
right.
Did you want to coach after, or were you kind of like, screw hockey, I hate it?
I wanted to be done.
This is
I couldn't even look at it because it just brought so many triggering memories back up.
So then what was that trigger point where you were like, when Dave called you and asked you to coach high school hockey and you were just like, yeah, let's go. Yeah.
I felt better about myself.
Yeah.
I started working on myself to feel good about myself with whatever journey I was going down. And I felt like, okay, I was starting to play men's league a little bit. And when Dave called me, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be the head coach at Rogers. Love to be the assistant. And I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about coaching, but I'm going to do my best.
You're going to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you work at the base. You train all sorts of athletes from young to college to pros.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest focus? Obviously, you're big into mental health, obviously, just because of your life and whatnot. Like, so what do you focus on? Is it more of the training, more of the mental health side, a little bit of both? What do you?
I think my main focus is a program that I developed called the Authentic Athlete, and it's all, like you said, it's the mental mindset methods on keeping your body regulated to make sure that you're going into any situation in a calm, relaxed, whatever it is, demeanor that you need to perform and show up the most authentic way that you can. And that's, for our high school athletes, for instance, it's being able to get your mindset right before the game. So we do a lot of breath work stuff. So we have like a breath work meditation where they can listen to get into that flow state, to visualize and set their mindset to the right tone that they need to perform the way that they want to perform during the game. Good warm up. And then also, like, let's say you have a really bad shift and you can't let it go. What system or method can you use when you get on the bench to shake that off and to show up for that next shift and not think about stuff from the past or the future? And that's all about getting them to understand that hockey doesn't dictate who you are as a person. If you had a bad mistake and the coach is yelling at you, you can't control that. You can control your emotions. So how do you get them to control your emotions is what I love to teach, because that is what I wish I had coming through the system. And it's all self-taught learning from whatever it is out there to figure out, okay, this is something that works for me. This could work for you. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. The outcome, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. The outcome is either positive or negative. You can look at it in a sense of, okay, maybe that didn't help me. Let's try another way. So it's teaching them to be their own Sherlock Holmes of their own life.
Enjoy the process.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hockey is this chapter of their life. Their life is this big in their book.
Right.
So how do you get them to show up the way that they want to show up for their chapter of life of hockey?
Right.
It's only going to last so long.
Yeah, I know both of you guys do this. Cold tubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Why? Why in the world would you do that to your body at 5 a.m. in the morning? Mm-hmm. It's already -2 degrees outside. Why are we jumping into water?
So before because I know you're way more, I guess, like knowledgeable on it than I am. I just do it because I know that you have the background check on it.
Yeah.
Good for everything. But just for me in the last, 2 months since I started doing it, is I don't need caffeine. I don't need a bunch of other things to help me release my dopamine. I can just jump in the tub, get out of the tub, I'm good to go for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the physical benefits are endless. You can find a list of those online. I think for me personally, you are getting yourself into a stressful situation, which is, think about a sympathetic state is your fight, flight, or freeze. Your parasympathetic state is your calm, rest, digest, where you can logically think and make a decision. Think about a fork in the road. If you have a decision to make, you got 2 options to make. One is going to be a benefit to you, and the other one is going to set you back. You want to sit there and be able to take that decision every single time, whether doesn't matter what situation. So when you get in the tub, you're putting yourself into that sympathetic state, and then we use breath and then a calming demeanor to get your body into that parasympathetic state so you can practice getting calm into that stressful situation. So being comfortable in that uncomfortable situation will help carry that to many different facets of your day. So if you have a test, you have a speech, you have a hockey game, and it's bringing up that stress and anxiety, you know that you have a cue to breathe, to get yourself back down into that parasympathetic state, so you can channel that energy into something positive rather than negative. That's why I do the ice.
So Nate's never done one.
I have too. I've done it once, and it was the worst experience of my life. I said, no.
Yeah.
Why do you people do this?
Now you know.
To break through that barrier of that limiting belief that you put on yourself of, I can't do this. I refuse to do this. Instead, I get to do this to practice on that mental fortitude, whether that's whatever it is in your own personal journey.
Yeah. The I get to, not the I have to.
Well, I have to in the morning. My girlfriend takes a 30-minute hot shower, and I got nothing left besides cold water.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
A couple more questions. We'll wrap it up here. I know we're getting long on time, but when you made the phone call to your agent and decided to hang it up, knowing who you are today, would you go back and change that decision?
Not at all. Never.
Why?
Because I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. I wouldn't be working at the base. Who knows? I might not have a son. I might not have a wife. It's just, I think everything happens for a reason. You don't know what you're going through until it's full circle. And that could be a week from now. That could be 2 years. It doesn't matter. It's always, as a person, you're always trying to get yourself uncomfortable, because that means you're growing.
Yep.
When you're growing, you don't know what you're going through necessarily until that hits, whatever that is.
That's a great point. I don't have anything to add on top of that.
Wow.
My God.
Okay. Last one for you then. Best advice you would give an athlete, or just
a human being?
Just a human being that helped you in life to get to where you are today, and what you think would help them.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take this from Ted Lasso. Be curious, not judgmental.
He's been watching Ted Lasso.
Yeah. I love that show.
You got to be curious. If you're not curious, that means you're not in that growth mindset. And if you're judgmental, that means you're being judgmental to yourself, and then you're judging others based on what they're doing. You can't. It's out of your control. So you can react the way that best suits you, and you can be able to control your emotions, and got to be curious.
Control what you can control and let go what you can't.
Yes. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Mm-hmm. Sometime. In good time.
It is.
In good time.
I would like to, yeah.
I think your life story is very cool, and what you're doing now, I think it's life changing to a lot of kids and student athletes too.
Yeah.
And I think when that book comes out, I'll buy it.
I appreciate
I'll
that.
be one
I'm
of your
with
first
you.
copies sold.
I'm with you. But yeah, that's all we got, unless you got anything extra to say. I think it'd be awesome to have a part 2 because of just how long your story is and how great it is.
Yeah, I'd love
so you guys can look forward to a part 2. But that's episode 7 of the M&Talk Show. Jake, thank you for coming out. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Jake.
Grateful.